I don't know who's getting the toilet. Is your long-term relationship starting to feel a bit stale?
I miss tits that don't feel like porridge in a sack.
His ball sack is so saggy I could stretch it up the crack of his ass and give him a wedgie.
Has couples therapy just not worked out?
No, I never said I don't love walking around IKEA for 6 hours.
You don't love me. Then you need a new mutual interest. How about buying a tandem?
You gonna do any pedaling anytime soon, bitch?
You gonna stop looking at my brother's cock bulge when he wears tight jeans?
Or if you're feeling frisky, pop your car keys into the bowl of random sexual relations. Oh my god, whoever these car keys belong to, get ready to be the bitch. Sigourney Weaver looks like she does not mess around. Or how about learning to stomp around in weaponized monolithic juggernauts and taking out your resentments and frustrations on colossal reptilian abominations from another dimension? Well, I guess that's what Duc and Moari Jessop did, so just watch the video, yeah? So, to continue the Pacific Rim graphic novel series, let's take a look at Tales from the Drift. Nearly 3 years after K-Day, the day of the first kaiju incursion in San Francisco, the novel throws us in at the deep end. As Tactit Ronin, the first Mark I Jaeger launched by Japan, is ambushed by a kaiju called Itak in Tokyo Bay. Itak manages to spear Tactit Ronin and hit its reactor. Tacit manages to get free by blasting out its chest missiles, but the reactor is damaged enough to leak radiation into the con pod and knock out the pilots. As they drift out of consciousness, the pilots, husband and wife team Duc and Moari Jessop, flash back to the day they met whilst fighting Kame-san, which I believe is also sometimes referred to as Thunderhead. Am I right in thinking that? And wait, no, hold on, let's back up. Tactit Ronin. I think this is up there with my favorite Jaeger designs. I love the shape of its head, which is also quite small, so it makes the shoulders and chest look really bulky and muscular. And of course, I love these two huge protruding blades on its arms. They look like they could inflict a fucking savage amount of trauma. They look like this thing could be supplying the local sushi restaurants with kaiju-flavored sashimis for years. Speaking of kaijus, let's talk about Itak for a second. Am I saying it right? Itak? Itak? I prefer Itak. Let's go with that. Let's talk about Itak. It's stealth black, apart from these blue glowing parts. It has 6 arms, 4 of which have these curved blades on the end, and a long, thin horn on the top of its head. It's pretty awesome. I like it. So back in the flashback with Kame-san, with Duc and Kawari managing to hold off Kame-san long enough for Brawler Yukon to arrive to pick up the fight. But this is all basically to show how these two met and fell in love. So they regain consciousness in the middle of the fight with Itak, and manage to regain control of their Jaeger, and they're able to get a few hits in on Itak before they blip out of consciousness again, and we're into another flashback, and is this the way it's going to be, really? The drift has now become a flashback device. And I fucking hate flashback episodes almost as much as I hate episodes where they wake up and it was all a dream, or musical episodes. Those are the worst. So we cut back and forth between the Itak fight and the Kame-san fight, and it's at this point that Coyote Tango gets involved. And wow, look at that panel. I have to say that the artwork in Tales from the Drift is beautiful. There's something about the art style that I love to bits. It's stunning. Anyway, there's more Duc and Moari relationship stuff as they slip in and out of consciousness, which I really can't be bothered with, until finally Tacit Ronin manages to attack Itak from behind, as it's got its hands full with Coyote Tango, and cuts it in half. It's very brutal. Duc blacks out again and wakes up in the hospital, where he's visited by Stacker and Marco. Stacker tells them that because of the nerve damage sustained in the fight, they can't be piloting Jaegers anymore, and are discharged with full honors.
You're you're fired.
Then they're attacked by Ragnarok, and imagine Goro had a blade at the end of each arm, and I'm not really sure that I like this guy. Not because he's a crap design. You know what? I'm not sure what it is. I think that maybe it just looks like it doesn't belong in this universe somehow. If you put him beside the other designs, it doesn't quite fit. Maybe it's too humanoid. Like if you took away the extra arms, he'd pretty much just be a muscle guy, right? Yeah. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe I just can't get away from the fact that he looks a lot like Goro. Goro has 4 arms. He probably has 2 the really little ones. Oh my god, in this picture, Goro looks like he should be working down the local cabaret bar.
Wanna buy a girl a glass of champagne, big boy?
Anyway, Victory Alpha is sent out to fight it, but Ragnarok pops up behind it and starts to get the better of it, sprouting 2 new arms in the process. And eventually it destroys Victory Alpha. The pilots manage to eject, but now everyone has to face the prospect that With Coyote Tango still damaged, there's only one real option, and yep, that's Tacit Ronin, and because it's still leaking radiation, it's pretty much a death sentence for its pilots. But even though they're bathing in radiation and their machine is severely damaged, Duc and Moari put up a valiant fight, going nuts with Tacit's blades and eventually spearing it through and slicing it in half. This is a pretty cool battle with loads of amazing visuals from the panels, and even though I occasionally had a hard time threading together the action between one panel and the next, it was pretty awesome. The whole point of this novel so far was to show the love between these two characters, and another example of that is here, where halfway through the fight they lose the pond system, so there is no more neural link between them. But the two are so in love that it's almost as if they're one shared spirit anyway, so they're still able to sync mind and body enough to control their Jaeger. And of course they pull what seems to be Tacit Ronin's signature move of splitting the kaiju in half, and oh, look at that awesomeness. And of course they die and go to the eternal drift in the sky. And I have to say that the final fight in this really saved the whole thing for me. The flashback nature of the whole thing was really starting to annoy me, and I mean, I understand that the relationship between these two was important and really affected the conclusion of the story, but I didn't want to be spending all that time examining their relationship. I don't know, Moari, maybe the toilet did skid itself! And jumping back and forth in time like that, it really broke the flow of the story. And instead of being one strong story, it felt like it became two really weak ones running side by side to each other. And I have to say that my initial reaction to all this was one of disappointment, actually. Initially, I felt that the story was quite weak. It didn't drive forward the plot of the war against the precursors, or add anything new to the universe, or cover any of the major milestones in the way that Tales from Year Zero did. But after I read it again, I realized that what this is doing is it's reinforcing the point that Stacker made in Year Zero. That it's the bond between us and our fellow human that's our strongest weapon. But still, on a story front, pretty weak stuff really, as this is definitely a love story first and foremost that just happens to be set amid the backdrop of the Pacific Rim universe. But some saving graces would be Tacit Ronin, which I think looked awesome and is given the artwork it deserves. The same goes for Itak, which I thought looked really cool. Ragnarok was okay, but nah. But on the whole, the artwork in here is really a cut above. And of course, being a love story, there is quite a bit of romanticized imagery in here, but if you're just here to see big robots smack the shit out of big lizards, I'm not sure it's going to really do that much for you. But there's no doubt that it is beautiful as well. And back to my age-old gripe, I want to see more of Stacker and Coyote. How many times do I have to say this? As well as Prototype Brawler Yukon, which is only in a couple of panels, and now looks like this. So my overall feeling when it comes to Tales from the Drift is that when compared to Tales from Year Zero, it might feel a little inconsequential. It's an okay story with some really amazing artwork, but what it doesn't do is progress the overall story of the Pacific Rim universe. It does show us some previously unseen kaiju fights, and it does present them in a really amazing way. But these events don't really affect the events of anything else within the universe. So definitely check out Tales from the Drift if you get the chance, and I will be back very soon to look at Aftermath, which is a prequel to Uprising. So feel free to get out of my head, and thank you very much for watching, and see you very much soon.